Hello and welcome to episode 56 of Pushing Cardboard. It's August 4th, 2026. I'm glad to have you with me, wherever or whenever you're hearing this. I've had a very busy summer so far with a trip to St. Paul for San Diego Histcon North and then a holiday to the Rockies with my wife, so there was no episode in July. However, I'll be making that up after this one as I did a handful of interviews in Minnesota, and I'd rather get them out rather than dribbling them out one a month for 5 months or something like that. My interview this episode is with Shayne Logan, designer of the popular Old School Tactical series from Flying Pig, as well as the new Modern Tactics series from VUCA. It was lovely to have a virtual beer with a fellow Canuck and talk war games. No deep dive into a game this time, as I'll instead be giving a wrap-up of my time at San Diego North. It was a quick 2-day event, but I arrived a couple days early and packed in as much as possible. Before we get started, I'd like to thank everyone who supports the show as a Ko-Fi patron. Your support is very much appreciated. If anyone else out there would like to become a patron via Ko-Fi, it's just like Patreon. There are details in the show notes, the newsletter, and the website. It helps pay for the podcast hosting, the web hosting, and the interview website. As well, I'm an affiliate of both Cube for Me and Noble Knight Games. If you're interested in using either of those fine businesses, use the link from my website, and they'll give me a small percentage for bringing you. Cube for Me will even give you a discount. So the website, pushingcardboard.com/support. That'll get you everything you need. Okay, on with the show. We'll have some news, some new arrivals, and general historical gaming chatter, and then we'll get to the two features. News. As always, there are links to most of these items in the newsletter and the show notes, so check those out. Live Cardboard 38 is coming up on Thursday, August 13th. My guest will be David Thompson, co-designer along with Trevor Benjamin of Rebels Against Rebellion. It's a game about a small Tennessee county that refused to secede when the rest of the state was doing so. Its Kickstarter is up now, and David will be doing a live teach and play with me, as well as inviting comments and questions. There was a new GMT newsletter, of course, in July. The big news there is they're taking a whole new approach to keeping commands and colors, ancients and Napoleonics in stock. In brief, the problem has been securing blocks at a price that doesn't send the prices soaring, like we see, for example, the Compass Tricorn games. GMT's been wrestling this for a while, and the most recent solution was to try to consolidate expansions into fewer discrete boxes, but that still left them with the high prices for the base games. The breakthrough is that they have finally found a better source for affordable wood bits. Their immediate plan is to get both the Ancients and Napoleonics base games back into print ASAP and keep them that way. They still plan to put out some of the expansions in multi-packs, but not exactly the same as the previous plan. So if you had put in a P500 order for one of those Commands and Colors Napoleonics multi-packs, it's been canceled. You're going to have to reorder with their new system. Anyway, there's long been grumbling about them not keeping such a good selling series constantly in print, and how they were shooting themselves in the foot and screwing the rest of us over. But now we know why. They were just becoming too expensive. And equally, now we have a solution. On top of that, they announced that they're going to be launching a completely new Commands and Colors lines. They didn't say what it is, but speculation is that it will be a redo of Battle Cry. I imagine it'll be with blocks rather than minis, of course, which is fine with me. I've been hearing for years that designer Richard Borg has had an update for the series ready with improvements such as a tactics deck, rules for dismounted cavalry, stuff like that. So if GMT's new product is Battle Cry, it's going to be substantially improved. Plus, it's said to include more scenarios than any Commands and Colors games to date. I think like over 100 or something like that. Anyway, there's a ton more in the newsletter as always. The only other bit I'll mention is the new P500 items. Of course, there's the reprints of Commands and Colors Ancients and Napoleonics, as mentioned, as well as a reprint of Pacific War. But there's two new games. Lee Moves North is Volume 3 in Mark Herman's Civil War Heritage series, sure to be catnip to all the Rebel Fury fans out there. I spoke to Mark recently, and his Gettysburg scenario includes a fourth day. I guess maybe Meade is sent trying to catch Lee as he retreats. And then something completely new, something called Rowing to Hades. It's a quote, squadron level naval war game set in the ancient era, the era of oars, not sails, rams, not broadsides. Inspired by classics such as War Galley, Trireme, and the Commands and Color system, it will appeal to gamers who want to enjoy quick naval battles at a different scale and complexity level, unquote. Sounds great. Anyway, in terms of new games down the road, they hint about a new Vietnam game. I'm guessing that isn't the Commands and Colors Vietnam. A multi-pack for the Levian campaign series, and a new Last 100 Yards games, which I'm wondering if that'll be North Africa. Hope springs eternal. Other new games coming. Gregory Smith, the man with a million solo games, also has a series of two-player games loosely called the Tide series. The latest is Rebel Tide, and it's now available from the Compass website. They send me news about their Kickstarters, but they often happen so quickly, and they're only open for such a short time that they send me the announcement and the Kickstarter is done before I get the next episode out. So I'm letting you know it's available, not that it's on Kickstarter. Other Kickstarters that are ongoing or just finished. Flying Pigs have a strategy guide on Kickstarter for 65, their tactical Vietnam game. Germany 45 and Russia 41 by Dan Fury and Worthington are on Kickstarter. And then Compass has another Kickstarter, Warriors of America. Actually, it could be already over by now. Who knows? Anyway, Warriors of America, terrible title, but it uses the Warriors of God system, which is a great system. I love that game. But it'll be interesting to see. Warriors of God covers about 100 years, I think, and so I don't know how this one's going to work. If it's just the American Revolution, I guess we'll see. Finally, Steve Nagus, a player I met at San Diego Histcon North, has a Rally the Troops clone site used for developing prototypes. It's at fieldofmars.com, and I think it's open to all. There's links and info about it in the newsletter and whatnot. This episode is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. If there's an out-of-print game you're looking for, they're your best chance. If you're looking for used games to avoid the new and shrink price, they've got thousands. And if you're looking to sell games, they're your best choice as well. Check out the link in the show notes or the newsletter or the website. Use it to get to their store. That way they'll know I sent you. I'll get a little kickback. I'll spend it on games. I'll tell you about them. Then you'll head back to buy more games. It's a virtuous circle. What's on the table? Well, we'll just leave this section on to be covered by the San Diego Histcon North, as that's where I got the bulk of my playing this month. New games to the collection. Just a handful this time. A couple, well, actually three from Revolution, two of which are new, and one was me picking up something that I'd never grabbed before. The new ones are the latest Blind Swords. Early Threatens Washington, the Battle of Monocacy Junction, July 9th, 1864. I've already played that once and really enjoyed it. It's an interesting looking entry into the system in that it doesn't have a ton of counters. There are not a ton of units, so there's a lot of space to cover when you're defending with not too many units. But there's also not a lot of units to attack with by the Confederates, so you're going to have to choose your spot and go for it. Also, Tankschlacht, Cambrai, 1917. This is the latest, or the second, I guess, the second in the series that was started with Death of an Army, which I covered quite extensively on the podcast. I think also in video and on the website. So if you're interested in that series, check that out. Of course, this is later in the war, and Tankschlacht lets you know we're going to see the introduction of early armor units, so that'll be interesting. And then finally, from MMP, Fallschirmjäger, the airborne assault on Fortress Holland. This is a remake of an old SCS title. I'd always heard it was a good one, and I only have maybe one other SCS game, so I thought I'd give it a go. Plus, airborne drops, always fun. Okay, guess what I'll be doing with these new games? That's right, figuring out how to store them. Luckily, this episode is also sponsored by Cube for Me. They have the best trays, the most versatile trays. Check out my website or newsletter for my link. Use it to order their trays. They'll know I sent you. And not only that, you're going to get 5 to 8% off your order. They're the best, bar none. All right, let's talk about San Diego Histcon North. San Diego Histcon is a yearly convention in San Diego in November, but a year or two ago, they decided to try host a satellite convention in the summer. It was at a Naval War College or museum on the East Coast. I can't remember exactly where, but it was a big success. Everybody loved it, and they're going to go back to it. But then random federal U.S. institutions started to get hit with huge budget cuts, and the institution said there was no certainty that they would be available again. So, undeterred, the San Diego Hist group cast about looking for an alternative and settled on St. Paul, Minnesota. The venue selected was, I think it was just called Union Station, part of the historic train station there. Beautiful old building, high ceilings, plenty of room. Just a lovely place to spend the weekend. I think the only drawback to the convention was that it was only 2 days, which is pretty slight for those of us traveling and wanting to make the most of our trip. Fortunately, Mike Smart, also known as Zilla Blitz on YouTube, organized events on Friday. So I planned my drive so that I'd arrive Thursday and be able to go on Friday. Roughly 20 hours of driving from Calgary to St. Paul. I did it over 2 days. Had a lovely stopover in Medora, North Dakota, home of the new Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Library. I started Friday off with breakfast with the aforementioned Mike Smart, and then off to my pre-convention event. It was a teach-in play by Volko Ruhnke of the latest game in his Recon series, Masher, set in Vietnam. Mike and I played the Americans versus Jeff D. and John Wolfe. The U.S. and Arvin are searching and destroying. That's what we were doing. But often you aren't exactly sure what you've destroyed, and you don't find out until after it's all done. It's a real gut punch at the end, as Mike and I found out we'd racked up way too many civilian casualties and lost. So it's a really terrific game, but with ugly choices and politics baked right in. Yeah, it'll get you this one. Cool game. That evening, there was a pre-event mixer at a local bar. Ran into lots of friends there from previous conventions, including Mark Herman, who we'll hear from later. And then Saturday morning, my first game up was La Dare des Dare. That's a World War One game from Hexasim. Grand tactical, quite abstract, too abstract for some people, not for me. I thought it was just great. I played Mike S. from Minnesota. He was a fantastic opponent. He'd played it once. And also David Siskin was there watching and keeping us on track. He'd played it a handful of times already. So whenever we tried to make an illegal move, he showed us the way. Fantastic game. I can't wait to play it again. Under 2 hours. It's got tech tracks. But the interesting thing about the tech tracks is whatever you invest in, if you're the Allies, France gets it automatically. But if you want to spread it out and share it with some of your minor allies, you got to pay to spread it along. Same thing for the Central Powers. Germany gets it automatically, but if you want to if you want to give it to Italy or Turkey or something like that, you got to pay. So it's one of those things where the tech track is really cool, but you don't have enough money to buy everything you like. And you certainly don't have enough resources to spread everything out to all your allies. Really cool. Then in the afternoon, I played Brett Walda with John Wolfe and David Siskin. It's not the type of game I tend to buy, as it's pretty much all game and not much history, but it was a really great game, so we had a fun time. It's a multiplayer game. I think we could have had 4. I think it plays up to 4. We just had 3, and it played fine with that. It's early British history. It's like Anglo-Saxons earlier, but it's like I said, it's not much on history. The map is it makes everybody not exactly symmetrical, but kind of close to symmetrical. There's nothing about the map that makes you think of England or anything like that. But cool game, really fun game, and we had a great time playing it. Then I managed to slip away for a quiet dinner. The restaurant, there's this restaurant inside the building we were gaming in, like sort of a courtyard thing, but inside with these giant, 100-foot ceilings. This is beautiful. Anyway, managed to have dinner with designer David Thompson and my good old pal Mike Smart again, and had a lovely time. And then I went back and I did my first interview of the weekend, which was with Wes Crawford, who is half of the team behind the new publishing house Wharf Rat Games. You'll be able to hear that interview on an upcoming podcast. Wes has several irons in the fire, not only with Wharf Rat, but also with Worthington, just as a designer. Anyway, nice to talk to Wes. It was the first time I talked to him. I look forward to getting that one out to you. I came back. It was about 8:30. Venue closes at 10. I'm thinking, I've had a big day. Maybe I'll call it a day. And then I run into Mark Herman. He says he's been playing and demoing all day, but he wants to play one more game. So who am I to say no? He says he'll teach me his Pericles game. So away we go. Dan Picaldi had come to the convention with Gary Ardwolf. They do the podcast together. Anyway, so I rounded up Dan and roped him in to be my partner, and Mark had his son Grant with him, and the two of them played against us. I'd never played Pericles before. It always looked a little daunting to me, but it's fantastic. It does have a bunch of systems that you have to learn to get going. So there's a bit of a rules dumped on board to get started. But once you're playing, it's great fun. It's wild. It's chaotic. It's 2 versus 2, but it's like each of those two sides always is also vying to outdo its partner. We had a lot of we had a lot of laughs doing it. Of course, Dan and Mark were working to outdo each other, telling dirty jokes as well. So a great time for late evening gaming. Saturday morning, I was hosting a game of Baltic Empires, a new one from GMT and designer Brian Asklev. It turns out it was one of 3 going on that morning. It's a 5-player game, but 4 works just great. It's kind of interesting. There's 5 sides, but one of the sides, 4 of the sides have very specific victory conditions, asymmetric victory conditions. We're talking Denmark, Sweden, Russia, Poland, I think, and then the 5th side is basically Prussia, Brandenburg, and their setup is much smaller, and their victory condition is basically ensuring that nobody else reaches theirs. So if none of the other 4 win, Prussia will win. But the cool thing is, if you're playing a 4-player game, nobody plays the Prussia side, but at the start of each turn, the 4 sides that are playing bid on who gets to operate Prussia that turn. So if you bid enough of your resources to operate Prussia, you can use them to attack one of your enemies, or get out of your way, whatever. Anyway, it was a great time. It was a great game. Totally enjoyed it. I played with Paul Schulzenberg, Tara King, and Stephen Negus, who I mentioned earlier, who has the Rally the Troops site for prototypes. Then I got in a second interview, this time with Sam London. Sam has Microverse, Firefight Tactical, and Common Sense all coming out from GMT in the near future. He also signed a deal with another publisher for another game while he was at the convention. He's a very busy designer. You're going to be seeing a whack of Sam London games soon. And then it was time for my final game of the weekend, Crisis 1914, with Mike Smart, Liz Davidson, Luke from Osprey Games, and David Thompson. This one went down to the wire. Mike won. There are a ton of laughs along the way. I think it's a terrific game. You all represent the great powers of Europe. The object of the game is to finish with the most prestige without being the one that starts the First World War. So you're sort of trying to be second best in a way, because if you have the person with the most prestige is also going to be the one most likely to trigger the First World War. Great game. Anyway, I then interviewed Liz Davidson, that is. She has her own popular podcast, Beyond Solitaire, and is now the creative director for Leader Games. So she's got a lot going on. It was fun to get to know her a little better, and I really enjoyed putting her on the other side of the desk, as I've listened to her podcast often and listened to her do the interviewing. It was fun to have her answering for a change. And then right back to back, I did another interview. This one was with Kevin Bertram of Fort Circle. He gave a rundown of when his next games are going to be coming out. And we talked a lot about how Fort Circle kind of sets the standard for including extra historical background in each box. You know what I mean? If you have any of their games, there's in addition to the rules and the regular components, there's always just a ton of extra either essays or just sort of like reproductions of artifacts that relate to the game in question. It's really cool. And then I went out for dinner, and then came back and had time for one final interview. This was with Patrick Gebhardt of VUCA. In the interview, you'll hear Patrick give a rundown of what's coming from VUCA, most of which I may have mentioned in previous episodes. But it was great to see him in the flesh. Finally, I talked to him online a few times, and great to see a couple of the prototypes of those new games coming out. There's one in Force to Heaven. It's about the invasion of Poland that started World War II. It's by a Polish designer. Super detailed look at that invasion. Much bigger game on it than anything you've ever seen before, and you just get a ton in the box. It's just a giant, big, heavy box. And it was interesting. Patrick said that going forward, they're going to be adding much more historical information, much more than just your typical designer's notes. Which I felt a bit of a deja vu after talking to Kevin Bertram about that same thing. Though of course it's been a part of Fort Circle's brand from the start. Patrick said part of the reason they were doing that was they were trying to make the games, the war games, more attractive to non-war gamers who might want a little bit more context, and I think that's a totally cool idea. Another cool idea from VUCA, they added one of the components was stickers. Stickers, not for blocks or anything like that, but stickers to put on your trays and baggies for wherever you sort your counters. So I mean, I just thought this was a brilliant idea. Really cool. Save you having to make your own little labels. You can just slap the stickers on. Patrick said if people like it, it might become something they do for all their new games. So that was really cool. A couple other things from the convention. My buddy Ardwolf spent all day Saturday and half of Sunday playing Imperial Elegy. There was a big game of that going on. Everybody seemed to really enjoy it. He said that there were a couple players who were a bit slow, but it still looks to be a long game. And yeah, as long as it was, they all loved it. It seemed to be a very popular event. There was a silent auction. There's a few folks who had used games for sale. There was plentiful cheap snacks provided by the San Diego Histcon folks. I have to say, hats off to Harold and Pat and Andrew, as well as all the local gang from St. Paul and Minneapolis, particularly Ryan, who helped put the whole thing together. I know the Minnesotans are hoping to turn it into an annual event. I wish them good luck with that, and if they do, I hope I manage to go back again. On to the interview. Shayne Logan. I've been playing Shayne's old school tactical games long before I found out he was a fellow Canadian. That just added to the allure. So then VUCA sent me a copy of Modern Tactics Afghanistan, his conversion of old school tactical to modern combat. And anyway, VUCA sent me a copy of that to look at. And so bingo, I had to get in touch and talk to him about it. And well, here you go. This is our conversation. You'll hear all about it. Hello and welcome to Pushing Cardboard. I'm delighted to have as my guest today Shayne Logan. How are you, Shayne?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I've been excited to talk to you. I've a lot of longtime listeners to the podcast, or especially anybody who watches my live stream, knows I'm a huge fan of World War II tactical games. So I've come to the right place. I on the live stream I did a roundup of all the World War II tactical games I have, and I think, not including all the ASL modules, because that's just a bundle there, but I got over 40 boxes of just other stuff. It's got to be at least 20 some different systems. So anyway, I'm a fan of old school tactical, so that's why we're talking today. But let's go back a bit farther. Tell me a bit about are you a longtime gamer? Have you been a war gamer like all your life, or how did you get into the hobby?
Actually, I didn't really start wargaming till into my 20s. Kind of a sports team, a ball team I played with. A bunch of the guys were kind of into the wargaming, so they kind of introduced me to it, and I got into it that way. Played a lot of actually strategic war games at the time, like Empires in Arms and World in Flames and stuff like that. And then it kind of led into the squad leader and stuff like that.
So if you started by playing Empires in Arms and World in Flames, you kind of dove into the hobby at the deep end.
Yeah, but it was good because we always had like 6-7 guys, so it was always always a good get together for the guys in the sitting around having a few beers and playing war games.
Yeah. No, those are definitely great multiplayer games.
Yeah.
Uh, but then somehow you found your way to squad leader or ASL or
Yeah. It led me to squad leader, and I really got into the squad leader, not the ASL, but got into the squad leader, the tactical level, and kind of liked that a lot. So, and then that led me to I got into well, I've always liked computer games, so I got into some of the trying to think of the name now.
Matrix or Slytherin or
Yeah,
those
Matrix.
guys?
I started doing some mods for Matrix and that game, Conflict of Heroes.
Right.
I designed I designed a mod for Conflict of Heroes for them. Started years ago. Did that, and that's kind of led me to design my own board game, tactical level. And
I spent quite a few years doing the computer game thing as well, and I swear I feel like I put one of David Heath's kids through college or something with the amount of money I spent at Matrix.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So in terms of design, Conflict of Heroes was sort of your entryway into designing for World War II tactical.
Yeah. That's where I got my initial foray into it. I like that computer game. I'd love to have another tactical level computer war game I could play with all the time, but I don't have one I like just yet. So
that's what happens. I find with a lot of designers, that's how they end up designing a game, is because they all the games that they play don't quite hit the sweet spot for them, so they end up designing their own thing.
For sure, yeah.
Well, is that how you? I mean, so when you were doing the Conflict of Heroes mod, that was for their computer game. That wasn't for the table version,
right? For the computer.
What brought you back to tabletop tactical?
Well, I just started looking at it, and I thought there was a place I could fit in there with the design I wanted to do, and I wanted to make sure it had great art and stuff like that, and I wanted it to be. I just thought I could do a good job of it with designing the game that I wanted to play. So that's what led me to it, and I've always been an artist, so that made that part of it easy for me.
Right.
So.
Well, it seems like the spot you decided you wanted to slide into in the World War II tactical space is I find that SL and ASL kind of set the bar years ago, and then everything that's come after is sort of in reaction to that, one way or another. Mm-hmm. There's either a bunch of games that try to be ASL except better or more realistic, which is a term that I totally don't buy. But then there's another set that go like, I want to do the tactical, but I want to take the complexity down, but still have the decision space to make the game fun. And there's a bunch of games that end in that go in that space, and I feel like that's where you went. And you were successful where not all of the games in that space have been.
Well, I think a lot of times people will say they say, well, I don't want to be like ASL, and then they change like one or two things, and then it's still quite complicated and stuff like that. And I took, like, my game's not like totally new. It's like borrowed stuff from all over the place, kind of, and it's kind of melded into a workable way of playing. And I didn't want it to be procedural. Like, I wanted to be more dynamic, of course, between the players, and playables were. I kind of thought of it as you can keep a lot under the hood, like a computer war game, and the player doesn't have to bother with too much of the stuff, and it's still got the right parts clicking under the hood.
That's a design goal of a lot of designers. They want things, they want to keep stuff that the player doesn't actually have to look at and figure out, and yet it's still part. The model is still correct. So yeah, that's what you alluded to before. You didn't want it to be too procedural, and I think the key thing in old school tactical that gets away from that is the activation system, the back and forth.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm the thing I love about your system, where I've seen other systems fail. Sometimes I've seen other systems that try to go back and forth, and they fall apart if one side is much larger than the other side, has way more units to activate than the other side, and so they need fewer activations than the bigger side. But your system of being able to pass without giving up an activation, if you have fewer activations available, that's a super solution to that. Because if you're end up the designer or the defender, and you're kind of wanting to wait, and you have a ton of activations, well, you're going to just have to blow them off until you get to the same level as the attacker, and then because often you want to force the attacker to move first, right? Start coming at you.
And the impulse system, what I like about it is like it's not always going to be even. There's going to be a lot of momentum switches and stuff like that, and I think that's one of the better parts of the game. Is like sometimes you're going to end up with where you're just against the wall, kind of, where the other guy's got a lot of stuff he can do, and you just got to pick your spot to throw your punches and counter punch and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the interesting parts about it.
Yeah, I think so too. And that business of being able to pass without losing an activation, if you are the guy with the low end, means you can wait and throw your counter punch when you want. You don't have to feel like, because they're strict back and forth, and the guy with the fewer units or whatever just runs out, and then the other guy's got like 8 more units to move. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. I thought that was a brilliant bit of design work. The other thing that I came to your system late. I didn't start until I got the first one, was the Italian one, so volume 4, and then I liked that so much, so I bought the redo of volume 1, and now of course I got volume 5, the French. But I remember when I got volume 4, it was like there was something about the rule book that bothered me. And this is my cranky old man. I'm always a rule book makes me cranky if there's not a sequence of play right near the front.
Yeah.
And the older rule book didn't have that. And then I get this new one, and this updated volume 6 rules, and there's a sequence of play right on like page 2 or 3. It's just like my prayers have been answered.
Well, actually, it's I remember when you were saying about that, and that's one of the reasons why I hate working on rule books, but it's one of the reasons why I had to delve back into it. I knew it was kind of like all over the place in some circumstances, like you were saying about like the impulse system, it's kind of like in the middle of the rule book.
In the middle of the book, yeah.
Yeah, and so I knew it needed a major overhaul, and that's one of the reasons why I did it. Like when I did the rules for the modern tactics, I got a lot of help with those guys as far as organizing it and stuff. And so when I was done that, I went back to my old school tactical rules, and I took notes from that and redid it and bit the bullet and redid it.
I feel very proud to have nudged you into what you did. But the reason I like a sequence of play right at the beginning is you read the sequence of play, and then whatever rules come after it, you can kind of in your mind, you know kind of what the sequence is and what's going to go on, and you can place everything else kind of into that sequence
Yeah.
as you go through the rest of the rule book.
Hmm.
When you did the very first old school tactical, was that just something you just straight out pitched to Mark Walker, or how did that work way back then? That was like
Actually,
2016 or
yeah, 2006. Yeah, I think 2016. Yeah, about 10 years now. I originally I had the game pretty much done and tested, and I was thinking about running my own Kickstarter and doing all that route. And Mark just started his Flying Pig Games, and he put an ad out there for artists. So I got in touch with him about being an artist, and he saw this work and he asked me about it. We ended up signing a deal, and he did all the publishing, and so I've been with him ever since. It's probably a lucky thing on my part, and I didn't have to get involved with any of the business stuff and could stick with the design and the art and all that.
I'd suggest it's probably a good thing for both of you, because he's got a great game series on his hand, and you don't have to do any of that Kickstarter stuff like you said.
Yeah,
But here you are, like you've got 5 core volumes now,
yeah,
plus at least one expansion for each of those volumes, maybe a couple for some of them. So there's at least 10 or 12 boxes of old school tactical stuff out there.
yeah. It's worked out well.
Yeah, and it's and for him as well. You know, he's I'm
Yeah,
sure he's happy to have discovered you.
yeah. Well, it's like I'm kind of like a turnkey designer. Like I do all the art and all the layouts and everything. I
Right.
just hand him the package and it's good to go.
There's some you fit in with a few of my favorite designers that are like that. It's Kim Kanger, who works for
Hmm.
Legion, does that, and Mark Simonich does that, and um,
Yeah,
the guy, what's his name, Mark Rodrigue, who did Bayonets and Tomahawks. There's
yeah,
something
yeah,
about designers who are also artists, where you go as a consumer or a player, you totally go, I'm what I'm seeing is exactly how the designer imagined it.
yeah.
There's no kind of handoff, and the designer's not going to go, yeah, this isn't what I imagined. The artist really screwed me over on this. It's
Yeah,
sort of like a full, complete vision of the whole thing.
correct. Yeah.
What's it like to do the research on your old school tactical stuff?
It's a lot of reading. Of course, a lot of the history books are just dry as anything. Trying to glean the information. Like I don't read history books for fun. I read them for the research into the battles and the campaigns, and uh, there's just a lot of reading, and of course some books give up a lot more information than others, and
Yeah, I
it's
imagine like the technical stuff about, tank stats and all that is pretty straightforward, but
yeah,
combing through books looking for situations to build scenarios out of, that's got to be
yeah,
where you have a
that's a tricky
real.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Do,
Hmm.
do you has a community, has anybody started to make publish fan scenarios anywhere, post those sorts of things?
Uh, there's been a few fan scenarios. I haven't. The only ones I've worked with is I the modern tactics stuff. I had another guy did an expansion. I did all the art and everything. He designed the scenarios. Old school tactical. It's mostly been myself. Other than there's been the odd scenario here and there that people have designed and posted. I wish
Right.
they would post more. Like sure.
Yeah, I think it's just something that's got to catch on, and people have to. I mean, BGG is a great place for people to post that sort of thing, but
Yeah.
it feels like it'd be a totally easy system to way easier to design scenarios as a fan for this than for ASL, right? It's like
I think so.
uh,
Yeah.
you don't. There's just not the rules overhead that you got to keep on top of. So, well, here's hoping. I'm not going to do it. I got enough on my plate, but I hope some other people do. I was really happy to get the last one was the French. I love early war stuff, so that's that's right up my alley. It's great. Yeah, it's, there's something about those early tanks, especially that are it's like tin cans rattling around and with 37 millimeter guns, or some just have machine guns or whatever. It's totally the opposite end of that heavy metal thunder that we get over on the East Front later.
Late war, yeah.
So after when you decided when you got the idea to do modern tactics, how did it come about that you decided to do that with VUCA rather than Flying Pig, or did Flying Pig, did you offer it to them, or how? I mean, I don't want any ugly details or anything.
There's no ugly details. It's just you kind of, there's only so much that I can get published with Mark. Like, he's got all his other stable of games, right? So there's only so much you can do there. So I thought I should probably divide my eggs up in other baskets as well. So, of course, VUCA is making a name for themselves, and they have top quality products, and they care a lot about the art and presentation in their games as well. Mark, Flying Pig Games is the same way. So I approached VUCA when I had the modern set ready, and went from there. So I kind of have two different lines, kind of.
Well, this you're not alone in that. I think Volko Ruhnke has designs with 3 different publishers coming out this year, I think. And when you have 3 different designs, one publisher's not going to pop them all out the door in the same year. So it makes sense. VUCA really makes sense as the place to go, because, like you said, the component quality with Flying Pig is great, and VUCA feels like they came onto the scene and just sort of elevated the idea of components to a whole nother level with constant pre-rounded counters and all those mounted map boards and the almost linen finish of the boxes. Even their player aids are sort of thick and covered with something that makes them feel like they're not going to melt under a spilt bit of beer or something. Yeah,
they're top quality, top notch for sure.
So you pitched it to, I guess, to Patrick, and how did all that go? He had a look at it and just went, yeah, this is right up our alley, or?
Well, I was the same with them. They put an ad out for they were looking for new designers and stuff like that. So I pitched it to him and told him I did the old school tactical, and he got right back to me, and he said he had old school tactical games himself that he enjoyed and stuff, and we went from there, and it went pretty well.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I've had quite a few interactions with him when I've been talking about their games on the podcast or whatever, or they send me one now and then to have me have a look at it and talk about it. And he's just been so easy to deal with. Actually, I interviewed him for the podcast as well. He's a pretty articulate guy as well, and kind of like it's this new school of publisher that just goes, well, I think I'm going to do it, and bam, they do it, and it's just like it feels like such a crazy risky enterprise to me, but there's a few people that have just dove into it, and it's all come up roses for them.
Well, I like that the other European publisher you were talking to, at Neva War Games. I think they're kind of the same way with the presentation and the nice artwork in their games and all that. And
I feel like Europe is a little bit ahead of North America in upping the presentation and the
for sure,
quality. And I'm interested to see if some North American publishers start to feel a little heat on that and feel like they have to up their game. Yeah,
for sure.
Because there's a few. I mean, De Veer's stuff is really nice, and the Sound of Drums, the stuff
Yeah.
coming out of there. All really like just gorgeous components for sure. Well,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about modern tactics a bit.
Okay.
It's built on the chassis of old school tactical, but
Yeah.
it's slightly different scale in a way, right? It's the is it the instead of squads, there's like individual um, single man counters, or are they all squads as well still?
Yeah, it's squads.
It's squad,
There
okay.
is single person counters, just like the old school tactical as well, for snipers and
I guess there's just more
bombers
in
and stuff like that. Yeah.
there's more in modern tactics.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy to get that game because, of course, where you started was half the box is Canadians in Afghanistan and half the
Canadians.
box
Yeah.
the Americans in Afghanistan. So the provincial part of me was like, yeah, this is
Yeah. You got to get
whenever
the
somebody comes out
Canadians
with a
in
new
there.
system, it always takes like 4 or 5 boxes usually before we see any Commonwealth guys. So we get them right off the
Mm-hmm.
bat. What
Yeah.
was what was the challenges to move from to jump ahead like however many years it is, 50, 60 years. I mean, battlefields. I mean, we can talk about helicopters for one thing in a minute or two, but even just squad tactics and things like that have completely
Yeah.
changed.
Well, the challenge with the first one here was it's an asymmetrical fight, and like the sides are so distantly opposed that just trying to make it like a competitive scenario between the sides that are so different was a challenge here. The rest of the gameplay is kind of the same as old school tactical, other than like of course you got the it's a bit more deadly with the firepower, and you got the helicopter rules and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
and then
a bit
guided
more deadly.
missiles.
I was going to
Yeah,
say, the hand.
not so much in this first one, but there's a lot more guided missiles in the other ones and stuff like that.
And there's the things like the contact system.
Yeah.
That's something I don't think I remember. Maybe I just never got to it in old school tactical, but
No, it's not an old school tactical.
yeah, that's a newer thing, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Can you describe that a bit?
The contacts are just like unknown counters that get when they're discovered what they are, when they're exposed or revealed. Then you draw out of a cup, and it could be anything. It could be like a enemy squad. It could be a enemy suicide bomber. It could be an IED, or it could be nothing. And then it's kind of like an unknown thing on the battlefield, and the insurgent player gets to move those around as part of his forces. And
right, it's a way of making like that asymmetry.
Yeah.
The insurgent player is way underpowered, obviously, compared to the firepower of the Canadians and the Americans, but they have stealth things like the contact, and their advantages are more not firepower, but
just
mechanics
the unknowns,
that give them the unknowns.
Yeah, like same as the suicide bomber, like he's covert, and like he can be covert the whole time right till they explode in a hex with coalition forces. So
when it came time to do the Americans, and you go like, okay, if we're gonna do like we have to put the helicopters in. Did that give you pause? Did you feel like, oh my God, like how am I going to do this, or how did you get into it?
It's a helicopter is just another vehicle, but it's in like I just tried to, like anything I design, I try and bring it down to a simple level where people can follow. So it's basically treated in many respects like other vehicles. It's just up off it has altitude off the battlefield, but
the fact that they can hover makes them feel a bit more like a vehicle whereas if you try to put planes in World War II tactical games, they have to just strafe and go through, right? But with the helicopter, it does feel a bit more like a.
Well, it has to be on there for especially like the taxiing troops to the battle kind of thing, and
yeah. But they're also like a mobile weapons platform too. So yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are just so excited to jump into the scenarios with those. You mentioned earlier that somebody's already working on a expansion for Modern Tactics.
Yeah, it's the British forces in Afghanistan. That's designed by Kenneth T, and I did all the artwork for him and put the package together and helped him out. And it should be going to the printer soon. They have all the files, so
that's fantastic. To have it come out so quick. And yeah, I'm totally hyped to get the British. That's great. I was never a big gamer for in the 80s when there was always or the 70s there was always those Cold War gone hot games that were so popular back then, and I never I don't know, they just never caught my fancy, but this certainly has. Maybe it's the Canadians. Maybe I'm just drug in by the Canadians.
Well, it's different when you get to like the next ones that I'm working on. Like they're a lot more kinetic than the first one. Like the first one was asymmetrical, but the next ones are a lot more kinetic with ATGMs flying and stuff disappears quick a lot of times.
So what would you say? What's the next box you're working on in this series?
It's hypothetical Taiwan. So it's got U.S. Marines, Chinese, Taiwan, and even some Australians in there. And
it's sort of it's become a popular. I think that theater. I mean, world events for one thing. There's escalating tensions, but also Sebastian Bay's Littoral Commander series has elevated the profile of that too and piqued people's interest. So I think you've got a good spot there. I think I started to see your name pop up on art on other projects too. Are you doing art for other people as well? What's
I do art for Compass Games, Fellowship of Simulations.
Those guys are great. They've got some good stuff.
Yeah, Walter. Yeah, I do all his Napoleonic stuff. Flying Pig Games. I do their Armageddon War, and Sapper Studios. They're a new company out of England. I did their. They did that modern battle group Clash Baltics.
Right.
So I do his work, and I just started doing some other stuff for him. So
James.
Yeah, James Buckley.
Yeah. Good guy. And I think that game has gone over really well. People are excited about it. So that's good for you. Good for him. I think that's sort of we've kind of wrapped up everything you've done. What's you got anything percolating that's non-OST or non-modern tactics?
I've got a lot of stuff I think about, but there's never enough time, right? Like I'd like to do some one-off games. One that I'd like to do is on Dieppe, and another one I'd like to do on Norway. So if I ever get time to put these things together, I'd like to do something like that. And I have other ideas as well. Just a matter of time, right?
Yeah, time. I know. And the older we get, the more precious it becomes, and you can't do everything. I'd love to see what you did for a Norway game.
That theater, that campaign intrigues me with all the different elements to it.
I totally agree, and it seems that the gaming in that campaign, it's always like battle specific. There's I've only got one game that is the whole campaign.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, a game from Trafalgar Editions, I think it comes from. But I'd love to see more games that tackle the whole thing from start to finish.
Yeah, that I think that would be cool if you could get it all uh, melted together where it worked, all the different elements.
Because it's totally air, naval, land. You got the whole
Yeah,
package
everything.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, do you get much time to play when you're like you got your hands full with all this designing and art? Do you still get to play a bit?
Uh, Most of the playing I do is play testing
Right, of
scenarios.
course. Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
even like the artwork, the art copies I get from these other companies, I don't really get time to play the games,
Right.
which is too bad. But whenever I get free time, I usually have to play test scenarios and stuff like
Right.
that. So
Uh, that's another part of the
that's the
thing. Not enough
downside
time.
of that's the downside of being a designer. You're mostly just stuck with your own stuff unless you you get to the odd convention or whatever. You can try something
Yeah,
else.
yeah. The designers that I see still playing games are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head are all retired. So
Hmm.
they don't hold down a job and design and try to fit other things in.
Hmm.
I can't imagine, for most people in the hobby is just a hobby, and even when you're a game designer or like me, a podcast or whatever, most people are holding down a 9 to 5 as well on
Hmm.
top of everything else. There's just no time to do all that stuff. Well, uh, I'm I'm glad to hear you have so many projects on the go,
Hmm.
I'm excited to see that next the British box for modern tactics. That's going to be really great. Was there anything
Yeah,
else
it
you
should
wanted
be cool.
to mention before we wrap things up?
Uh, just what I've got going on is the modern tactics Taiwan with VUCA and with Old School Tactical. The next volume of that is going to be North Africa. So
Oh,
there'll be.
fantastic!
You like North Africa? Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah. So it'll
My
be
first
one.
war game was Tobruk, so it's
Oh
always
yeah, okay.
it's kind of hooked me.
Yeah, the main box will be the British and uh, North Africa and Suriname and all that, and then the second box will be U.S. forces in Tunisia. Will be
Right.
the
So the
rounded
first
out
box will get Brits and other Commonwealth,
Italians
and
and
then Italians and Germans, right?
yeah, I got
Yeah,
British, Indians, and Australians, and Germans, and Italian, of course, and
right.
yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
It's like uh, after like France 40 and then to to the desert,
Mhm.
you're just like you're playing the song that I want to listen to.
Oh, that's
That's great.
good.
Well, great, Shane. This has been it's been good to meet you and hear what you've been up to. Do you get out to conventions at all? Are you
Actually,
conventioneer?
I well, I used to go to Origins and WBC, but then I haven't been there since uh, like the Great Plague or whatever, and
The COVID, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then I just actually got to my first. There's a one-day convention called CondoCon in Toronto, just like a couple of weeks ago. So that was cool, getting out and seeing the players, meeting the players again, and meeting a lot of good people and playing for a day. So it was cool.
Yeah, it must be nice to see people playing your games too. Like,
Yeah, I got to talk to a lot of people about them, and I had a lot of OST players and modern tactics players there. I got to meet, and so it was
right.
nice.
Yeah, well, cool. Well, best luck to you. I will say goodbye and hopefully talk again once these next two boxes are out in everybody's hands.
Great, thanks.
There you go. Like so many of the designers I talked to for the podcast, it felt a lot like just having a beer with a fellow gamer. I can't wait for his old school tactical North Africa. that's just going to be the icing on the cake for me. Parting shots. I don't know about you, but I've been loving the furor over the Nolan Odyssey movie. So many people insisting on their own point of view, misrepresenting other points of view. Real argument. It's all about an ancient poem. It's just, I think that's just fantastic. A clear vote for putting an end to the destruction of humanities departments in universities, if ever I saw one. I heard Emily Wilson, the first female translator of the poem, interviewed a few years ago. And oh man, what a mind. I look forward to reading her translation. Uh, Nolan was apparently inspired by it when he made the film. And Wilson has come out and said she thinks Nolan missed a ton of important stuff. That doesn't actually mean he made a terrible film. It just means he missed some of the things Wilson thinks are key to understanding the poem. I think she actually still enjoyed the film kind of as an action film or whatever. I think what so much of the online arguing misses is that the film can miss the mark as a perfect Odyssey film, but it can still be a great film. I don't think Wilson would disagree. It's just so much needless discord. And yet, at the same time, I'm thankful to have so many people arguing passionately about history and cinema for that matter. Okay. Thanks again to all the Pushing Cardboard supporters, whether it's by becoming a Ko-Fi patron or buying swag. If you want to become a supporter, as I said before, there's links on the website, the newsletter. There's also the website, pushingcardboard.com/support. Also, for every episode, there's a survey. You can launch the survey from the link in the show notes right on your phone or from the website or the newsletter. Check that out. I'm always interested in your feedback. Or find me at Pushing Cardboard Discord server. We can talk about war games there. As I mentioned earlier, it shouldn't be long before the next episode. I have 4 or 5 interviews to get out, so I'm thinking I'm just going to roll them out as mini episodes, not have as much news and whatnot. But we'll see how it goes. Anyway, in the meantime, until then, enjoy playing games, roll some dice, have some fun. See you next time.